Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on the podcast, I was very privileged to have a Harry Turner on the podcast. You can say he is, what can I say? He is a psychotherapist, influencer, and yeah, he is also known as the Nocturnal therapist. I have to say, we talked about a number of different things on the podcast today. Finding your inner self, finding your inner worth, basically what he is doing to sort of help move things forward for him and others through, he's not doing one podcast, not two, but yeah, he's doing three podcasts and then some. He's going to be a busy little beaver over the next few months. So yeah, please sit back, enjoy the show, have a great day, and please, if you can remember to subscribe to the show, that would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and yes, enjoy the show. Peace. Ooh, peace. Oh, yes, there we go. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on the podcast, I am very lucky, fortunate to have Harry Turner on the podcast. He is a therapist, influencer, and his other moniker is the Nocturnal therapist. Like, how are you today, sir?
Hey, I am perfectly splendid, and it is a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast today.
Yes, you know what? Like when I was searching through, there's a little website out there called Matchmaker, and like yeah, searching through a number of different people, and then I saw your profile come up. Then I went hit play on the video, and there you were with your silky smooth voice, giving it all that radio late night. I've got to say it. Come on.
Oh, come on, man.
Hey, look, I speak to the truth. I speak to the truth.
Well, I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it, man. I'm learning to accept compliments this year, my self-acceptance practice.
Right. Self-acceptance practice. Why have you gone on this self-acceptance practice? A compliment's a compliment. Like,
Ah.
well, yeah, what made you sort of, how can I say, take the British approach to compliments? Don't give me a no, no, no.
Well, yeah, the culture can definitely be a hindrance when it comes down to certain healthy practices. Every
Mhm,
culture has its healthy and unhealthy. But for me, I know that I combine what I know real life experience to be with spiritual truths, and these spiritual truths are what I stand on. And so I know that, like my brother Khalil Gibran says in The Prophet, that pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses my understanding. And so I never waste my pain. And so this year, early in the year, when the four-year anniversary of a friend who completed suicide came up, I wasn't aware of it. And at the same time, I'm a trauma specialist, and so I'm hearing horror stories at the same time. And so I fell into a state of being overworked and not taking care of myself. I fell into a state of depression that lasted for about a month.
mm,
And during that, it was very painful. A lot of guilt and shame I was overcame with, and during that time, again, because I live off the principle that pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding, I leaned into that discomfort and gathered the truth. And the truth was is that of all of the spiritual practices that I endorsed, self acceptance was the one that I put on the back burner because I have no problem putting everybody else before me, which was a reflection of a lack of self love. And
mm.
so self acceptance, my lack of practice with self acceptance reflected my lack of self love. And so to not experience that pain again and not have that stumbling block come back again, I know that self acceptance is absolutely necessary because either we get understanding or we get pain that brings about understanding.
Mm. Did it take you by surprise, like, I mean, hitting a month of depression? Because after all, you're a therapist. Like, you should be like, what I mean? If anyone's going to pick up on it beforehand or like take it on before it's sort of like, oh, yeah, man, this is getting to me. This is heavy. Like, did it take you by surprise? Were you like, whoa, like,
Well, I think when we go into fall into a depressive state, I think it takes everybody by surprise.
mm,
And can you hear me? Can you hear me well? Because I can turn up the volume if you need.
I am good. I can hear you clearly. Can
Okay.
you hear me clearly? That's
Oh
it.
yeah, I could definitely hear you clearly. I just want to make sure I'm good.
I'm like,
Um,
hey, what do you mean by that? Hey, so you,
well, yeah, sometimes my audio sounds a little low. You know what I mean? When I play it back, so I just want to make sure we're good. You know.
put it this way, I'm hearing the silky smooth voice coming through. Bear with me. I got the yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Continue.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. What was the question again? Let me get back to the question.
I asked if, like, when you fell into this realm of depression for
Oh,
a month, did it take you
that's
by
it.
surprise?
That's it. Yeah, because you said you are a therapist, which is
Mm,
incorrect. Therapy is just, so first off, I'm a guide. That's what I am.
hmm
Therapy is just the discipline I use to be a guide. It is just a role. It is just a title. I am not my title. That's not who we are. And oftentimes we confuse ourselves with a title, which then creates a lot of other self-chosen suffering as well.
mm,
I'll never confuse myself with my title because these licenses that I have as a therapist, and I have a lot of letters behind my name. I'm a certified clinical trauma professional. I'm a certified mental health integrative medicine provider. I'm a heart-centered hypnotherapist. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am a cognitive behavioral group therapist. So I have a lot of letters behind my name. But guess what? Every last one of those letters can be taken from me where I have to violate some ethics or whatever. So
mm.
if it can be, or just not pay my annual dues as a social worker, as a therapist. And so if it can be taken from me, that means it does not belong to me. So I do not over identify with any title. So I'm not a therapist. I'm a human. I'm a human, first off. If you're talking about the physical in this place of isness where everything is and nothing is not, I'm a human being. And so I fall into or fall into that spectrum of experiences that every single other human being experiences. It's
Yeah.
just that as a therapist, I have more access to the knowledge to skillfully navigate my way out of those states. But if therapists, a lot of therapists went into therapy or psychology or the mental health field really to heal themselves. You know, we're all seeking the same thing. You know,
Well, yeah, I believe that because, like, this is the whole thing. One of the hardest things to ever work out in this world, like, it's not the mystery of life, why are we here? It's like, where do I fit in, and what is my purpose in this world? Too many times I've seen people like go, like, yeah, go years, decades, and, like, you know what I mean? And sadly, sometimes some people don't find it at all. But, like, you, it's a very rare breed which, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm about. Yeah, this is my purpose. I'm going for it. You know what I mean? And, like, this is the thing. Like, with you saying I'm a human, and, like, yes, they can take things away from me. But, like, this is the thing. What would you say is the thing they can't take away from you?
my values. My values, our values are the closest thing that reflect who we are in this place of business. My personal mission statement is to assist others in developing the audacity to live unapologetically authentic because
Yeah.
authenticity, when you do the research, those who are the most authentic report the highest rates of happiness.
Mm.
And authenticity has to do with are they living through their values? Period. The more that you live through your values, when you place your moment to moment decisions, place in a juxtaposition with your values, the more in alignment you are with your values, the more authentic you're being in that moment.
Mm.
And the more access you have to your truth, which then you feel empowered and you experience these higher emotions such as happiness, joy, whatever. When we're not authentic, that's when we fall into these chronic lower emotions such as depression, sadness, purposelessness, the stagnation, stuckness. These things occur when we're choosing not to look at ourselves accurately and choose to be courageous. That's why I say audacity, because it requires boldness to be your authentic self, because this
Mm.
world wants you to be a factory worker. It wants you to be a carbon copy of what they want you to be, but you're not here to live up to anybody else's expectations outside of your own.
Yeah, no, like, this is the thing. I think I agree with that. But, like, this is the whole thing. One of the trickiest thing, like, okay, if someone came to you and went, yeah, okay, what, like, how do I find my values? How do I find the path? Because that is, like, as I said before, it's trying to find someone's purpose, like, people trying to find their purpose and figure themselves out is somewhat difficult. And, like, this is the thing. You as a like just speaking to you in our brief time and watching like much of your stuff you put out there, and you put a lot of information out there, I got to say. Like, yeah, like you basically you found it and you're going with it, but what sort of took you there? What was like what was the sort of like the epiphanal moment where you're like, yeah, bam.
Well, I can't. There were several epiphany moments
Mm-hmm.
that helped me along the way, but every single time I had an epiphany moment, my doubt came as well. And so it took a sequence of epiphany moments for me to finally come to this truth this year, really in particular, where I fully embraced myself, and accepted myself. But you said the path. And one of the things that I've encouraged anybody who's trying to find the path to do is to stop looking for the path because you're already on the path. That's what we need to realize. We oftentimes look outside of ourselves for the answer because our mind is designed to look and see everything in the outside external world.
Mm.
But when it comes down to the path is within you. You are the question and the answer. You're the lock and the key. So we need to stop looking for the path and accept that we're already on the path. Now, what's true for us here on this path? What do we love on this path? What did we like? Because it's our likes that leads us to our passions, and it's our passions that leads us to our purpose combined with some synchronicity. Now a lot of synchronicity when you embrace the fact that you are on the path and you begin to actively look and actively listen to what life is trying to tell you, because life is always conspiring in your favor. This thing called synchronicity kicks in, and when that synchronicity kicks in, the path, or the direction, not the path because you're on the path, but the direction that you need to go in will continue to be directed by that synchronicity. And it's going to be, first you're going to declare the coincidence, and then it's going to happen again, and then you said, okay, this is kind of weird. But when it happens 6, 7, 18, 20 times, and from different areas, that synchronicity, these unlikely coincidences, when that happens, you know that life is speaking to you and you ought to follow that. Even if you can't see where it leads you, you must trust, because faith is not belief in what you do see, but acceptance of the unseen. And we go as far as our faith will allow us to go. Most of us, when we're in the dark and depressive states, we're filled and consumed with fear and doubt. And if you feed our faith, our doubt will starve to death. Darkness, and this is where I'll stop at on this one, but darkness is not the opposite of light. It is the absence of light. Wherever light is, darkness must flee. And so when you discover a truth about yourself by doing that introspection, what you're doing is you're lighting up these dark areas. You're doing the shadow work, and you're lighting up these dark areas in your life, in your being that you didn't know was there. But what you're discovering is that the thing that you were afraid of actually is a truth that empowers you. I'm grateful for my pain. My pain is not less wondrous than my joy.
Well, like this is the thing. I like one of the things I would say is quite strong in sort of today's age with regards to a lot of things. It's like the things which make life uncomfortable, the pain which people have to live through in life. It seems like society today, especially I'm going to go with the West, like basically, it's like they're trying to remove all aspects of that pain, all aspects of that discomfort, and basically leading, I would say, many of us to be soft with regards to how when life throws its lumps, rather than sort of like, go, okay, let me deal with that, let me take the responsibility and lead the way in my
Mm.
life, and maybe other people will follow. It's a case of no, let's stay in the trenches. Let's not actually put our heads up above the parapets and move forward. It's just staying there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like have you seen that in yourself, like going through like like how you work and stuff like this? Are there like, am I sort of being deceived by what I see by the media maybe, or something like this? Or is it a case of the majority of people are not out there to sort of push themselves forward?
All right, so that's a loaded question right there. But I believe it's a lack of knowing. I don't believe that it's soft as much as it is unaware,
Mm.
because when we become more aware, then we understand that that hard is not to be feared, because the physical is a manifestation of spiritual laws. And so in the physical, you take a lump of coal and it undergoes millions of tons of pressure in order to become a diamond. You see, this entire process, this entire journey that we're on is a defining process. It is a coming out process. And so we need that pressure so we understand that resistance, so that we understand what it is that we truly value. It's in our moments of discomfort that we really figure out what we're made of. And so that's why I bless my pain. Yes, the culture is set up, especially in the West, to be more hedonistic and only seek out pleasure. But that's because the longest distance that anybody will ever take is the distance between their mind and their hearts. And the mind focuses on fears, what it fears. The mind seeks to only protect itself, which is why it was designed. But the body is not an extension of the mind. The mind is an extension of the body. It was created last. It was created last to help us function in this physical world. But when it comes down to who am I, our purpose, and those greater things that really bring us life, it has no fucking clue. Excuse me, it has no clue. My bad. I don't know.
Oh no,
If you can bleep that out, but
it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
don't worry. Like you go with the flow. You like you're there. Like hey, I can see it now. You're in the pool there, preaching. Yeah, it's like yeah, yeah. You know, wait. And I let myself go like this. Go. Like look, yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. So the heart space is where we have to move to, and it takes courage
Mm.
to move from the heart space. So it's scary to get on a show and talk to a brother halfway around the world in the UK and not know what you're going to be asked. There's still fears there, and I've just begun being a guest on people's podcasts. But I know that my fears have no idea how strong I am, and that my values say that you need to connect with other like-minded people. You need to let people know that you actually exist, and that there are people who give a damn about them out there. And that requires for me to get over myself and realize it's not about me. It's about my gift and what I've come here to share. It's
Mm.
about my purpose. The true death is to live your entire life and not experience your purpose, and then to die with regrets on your dying bed.
Yeah.
You know, I refuse to go out like that.
No, but
You know.
there's a classic saying from Les Brown where like basically he's like one of like his fears. I'm paraphrasing, gonna paraphrase, but yeah, laying there on his deathbed and then basically like these shadows of all the sort of things, like all the dreams and ambitions which could have like come to be, looking at him with angry eyes, saying, "We needed you to live, and now we've got to die with you." And like this is a thing, like that's one of the things which you listen to it and you like, oh yeah, that's some motivational, like no, yeah, like fluff. But the truth of the simple fact of the matter is, it's very true. There is only
Hmm.
certain things you can do. There's only certain things where your gifts, be that talking, art, being that like yeah, uh, like being an accountant, whatnot. You're the only person what can do it because you might have those connections to a group of people at some point in time, which can shift the moon. But
Hmm.
not take any action, not like go like following through with at least one of these dreams or ambitions can make the world a poorer place. And I think it no, not can, will make the world a poorer place. And when you got
Hmm.
people who are embracing those things, yeah, as you say, darkness is the absence of light.
Hmm.
Bring your light to the table. Help illuminate the world rather than leave it in darkness. And I think there's a like large portion of responsibility down to everyone to try doing that. And it doesn't mean you've got to be some type of Elon Musk type or like, I mean, like Barack Obama. It could just be like, yeah, I'm the best damn parent I can be. Who knows where that child can go, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. I worked in the mental health field in my as beginning out in the mental health field. I was in a maximum lockdown, well, multi-level security prison,
Mm,
and I taught inside out data parenting course to the inmates there. And what I told them, I asked them, why should I care about teaching you this course? And I gave them a little few minutes to figure out how they were going to respond. A few of them said because I get paid to do it. I said they don't pay me enough to deal with this shit.
mm,
But so I gave them a few minutes, and then finally they gave up. And I said, I could say I don't care about your son or your daughter. But what happens when the trauma that you cause or allow happen to your son and daughter? What happens when my son or daughter falls in love with your son and daughter? You see a lot of these tragedies and traumas and chaotic interactions that we have with other people. It's not only because of what may be going on in that family or with that person. It's also the fact that we don't give a damn about one another,
Mm,
because there are literally thousands before a mass shooting occurs. There are literally thousands of opportunities for people to intervene and just say I care. But because that person gets ignored, because that person doesn't know what to do with their pain, because that person is repulsed with themselves, they take that repulsion out on society, ergo the mass killings and shootings and whatever else. If
mm,
I hate me, of course I'm gonna hate you, because whatever is in me, I cannot give you anything but what's already in me. Which is why when I ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar, at first before I ask for a cup of sugar, I say, "Hey, do you have a cup of sugar I can borrow?" You got to have that cup of sugar in order for me to actually borrow it from you.
mm,
But we're looking for love from people that don't know what love is, because they don't have love for themselves. I can only love the other to the extent that I love myself. And so if I hate me, then I hate you too.
mm.
And yeah, I should care. Am I my brothers and sister keeper? Yes. We are all interconnected. And until we see that, we will all fall. Divide and conquer. A house divided cannot stand.
Mm. Yeah, like it's very true. Like the whole thing is like society as it pulls in different directions. If there isn't that common ground which we can agree on, says like, oh yes, this is the way forward. Yes, this is what makes us valuable. Yes, this is what gives us worth in this world, this life. And look, put it this way, I'll be absolutely honest. Like we live in a world and a society, even with lockdown and like the whole pandemic, which is better than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30
Mm-hmm.
years ago. And as you go further and further back, yeah, we live in lucky times. You know what I mean? Like where, yeah, you can be entertained continuously. You can like start up a business from your own home. You can like, yeah, associate, like you can keep in contact with family all the way over the other side of the planet just through the use of a camera and just the internet, knowledge, everything like that. But sometimes I think we fail to see the wonders which we live in today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Because these technologies. So in 2010, I took a trip to Africa. That's where I met my wife at.
Mm,
But a part of the LSU Swahili study abroad program. I was the last class to be a part of that before the budget cuts in Louisiana. But anyway, at LSU, we did the study abroad program, and out there, these people, the host families that we live with, we were out there for a month and a half. The host family in particular I lived with, they were definitely impoverished. You know, we had to go downstairs and get buckets of water to bring it upstairs and flush the toilet and stuff like that, bathe ourselves and stuff
mhm,
like that. But I got to tell you that while they were impoverished, one thing they were rich on was love. You know, because in that space they had community, and that community, the love. Look, you can exist without a cell phone. You can exist without an iPad. You can exist with a lot of these without a lot of these technological advances. But love, you cannot exist without love. And what I saw over there, in comparison to what I felt at home in the States, was that they were rich in love, and I was jealous
mm,
because of that. And I mean that in a healthy way, not really in the bad negative way. But I said I have to hold on to this experience, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the epiphanies you were asking about that changed my life. You know,
Mm,
definitely learning Khalil Gibran, the Prophet, coming across that in high school. My cousin giving me that was an epiphany, and also learning about human design this year as I was in my depressive state. That was the last big epiphany where I just said, okay, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm out my mind now.
so may I ask, what did you do to seek out like more love, like for yourself in the world? Look, I know you've said, yeah, if you don't love yourself, how can you get like, you know what I mean, love back? Like, what did you like? Did you just start with yourself and then like you looked outer, like you started with the internal and then went with the outer? How did it work?
Yes, and let me put it like this, because that's a bit. You can only love someone if you love yourself. That's not precisely what I was saying. What I was saying is that you love the other to the extent that you love yourself. You see, we all love ourselves to some extent, because otherwise, why are we still alive? You know, so we all love ourselves to some extent. It's just to the extent that we love ourselves, that's the extent we can love the other.
Mm.
You know, so if you're in a romantic relationship, for example, and you're expecting this person to reciprocate, and you are filled up and allow yourself to be filled up with love, but this person hasn't gotten there yet, no matter what promises they make, they will never be able to reciprocate that love because they don't have it. They don't have the cup of sugar that you're looking for. So it's not that we don't love ourselves, is that we, or each other, is that we love to the extent that we love ourselves. And so since many of us are suffering with self-hatred, that is extended to the other.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. I hear you.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But yes. Oh, yeah.
So
So
how did I start? I started on the inside. I started on the inside and I worked my way out. You had to ask each time that I fall. It's always me coming back to the inside and asking myself, like, what am I not paying attention that's going on with me? Because that's what that pain is there. That pain is, I say my pain is a blessing because what it does is it forces me to look back at me. Nothing will cause you to look at something like fear and pain,
mm,
you know? And so when my pain comes, I never waste it. What was there? Now, if you're alive, you're going to experience pain. Don't get it twisted. But much of the pain that we experience is self-chosen pain. Ignorance and freedom cannot coexist. And because we refuse to get more knowledge about who we are, seek out the truth of who we are, we continue to suffer needlessly.
mm. Yeah. You know what? I like that line. I really like that line. Ignorance and freedom cannot coexist. But you know what? I like, yeah, the line of ignorance is bliss. And like comes to mind when people like it's like, yeah, ignorance is bliss. No, but you know what I mean?
Mm-mm. In the
You know,
words, there's another quote that says, "If you think education is costly, try ignorance."
mm.
And I can say that as a business owner, that my ignorance has cost me thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, you know, because I didn't have that support, getting it from the mud, coming from growing up impoverished and not really having the social capital and things in place that, other people have, specifically in the lines of the intersection between race and class. But I'm learning through that pain. You see, in my business, if I suffer a loss, I immediately try to figure out what caused that loss. That's natural for all of us. But again, the physical is a manifestation of spiritual laws. We're supposed to be doing that same thing when it comes down to our psychological pain that we experience. But how many of us take the time to say, okay, what went wrong here? How did I get this L? Because we don't take losses, we take lessons. That's all it is.
Yeah, but like this is the whole thing. Yeah, that's true. But like the whole thing is, like there are many people where yeah, they don't see the lesson, they see the loss, and they live in that period of time. And like the whole thing is when like the way it should go, and like this is how I say it should go. You look to your past so you can learn from it. You like stay focused in your present, do all the hard work so you basically prepare for your future. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like something and fight today for a like better tomorrow. That's the way I see it. But the trap is what I think so many people fall into it. They look to their past and then they dwell in it and it
Mm-hmm.
festers and drags them down, takes them out of the present and basically robs them of their future.
Mm-hmm. Because they've made the gross error that many of us make and most of us make, and I think maybe every last one of us make it, for a certain period of time, of believing that we are our story. We are not our story. Like I was saying earlier, we are our values, and the past is for reference, not residence. There's a quote that says, "The past is history, the future a mystery, and today is a gift," which is why it's called the present. How can you take advantage of your gift if you're staring in the rearview mirror every single time that you get on the road? If I continue to stare in my rearview mirror while I'm driving on the interstate here in the States, I'm going to crash eventually. The past is for reference, not residence. We don't live back there. Those things happen to us, but they are not us.
Mm. Yeah, very true. Very true. Like, like this is the thing, my friend. Like, I can feel the energy off of you. You know, it's like, yeah. Oh, seriously. It's like you're ready. It's like you're like going, yeah. It's like this is your like This is my arena. I am ready to go. Come on. Like, yeah. So, like, okay. So, what has put this sort of drive into you? Like, has it always been there, or has it been the last year? Has it been the last 5 years? What? No, because you mentioned, but what has put this drive into you? Because you're fierce, fiercely. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Just like, yeah,
um,
Chef. Yeah, come on. Ah,
my passion, man, my passion in realizing that there was nothing wrong with me to begin with,
mhm,
that I'm not defective, that I'm perfectly imperfect, that I'm perfectly human. And so once I started to accept that, yeah, these things happen, but they are not me, I was able to distance myself from that thing that keeps us from looking at our truth, which is our shame. That's the thing that keeps us from actually doing the shadow work. It's because we're ashamed. We're ashamed of what we will see, what we will find. That's that fear. But fear, again, y'all may have heard the acronym, but fear is false evidence appearing real, FEAR. And like any mirage, as we move away from our fear, of course, it grows bigger. But if you move and lean into that discomfort, and you move towards it and face your fear, develop the courage to face your fears, that mirage dissipates. And then you discover that there's a truth there. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. You've already been through the trauma. You've already been through the pain. Looking at the pain and getting that truth, that's not going to hurt worse than what you've already been through. And shame does not represent who you are. It represents who you are not. How do you know that? Because we're attracted to every single thing that we like. We are attracted to things that are similar. Even the people that we mate with, our partners, we were attracted to them based off of similarities, because the similarities, we're learning from the other a truth about ourselves. That's the only reason why we engage in relationships truthfully, is so that we can learn a deeper truth about ourselves. And so as we're learning these deeper truths by interacting with one another, we can set ourselves free from this shame by understanding certain principles and certain laws that you must adhere to despite how you may feel, because your mind will always lead you astray because it's focused on existing. The mind doesn't give a damn about you living. It wants to make sure that you continue to exist. So it will keep you depressed. It will keep you hiding in the closet. It will keep you too anxious to ask somebody out on a date. It will keep you too anxious to ask for a raise at your job, because that's dangerous to the mind. And so it would prefer you to stay depressed and inside your closet. But when you travel down to your heart space, then you develop that courage, because now you're not looking at your story. You're not looking at your fears. The only thing you stare at is your values, and whatever you stare at becomes your reality. Perception is reality. Wherever attention goes, energy flows. And so since I stared at nothing but my values, in spite of my perceived failures and whatnot, I begin to operate from a values-based place. And when I begin to operate from a values-based place and begin to experience these higher emotions, such as excitement, passion, the sense of freedom, this sense of, oh, this is me. When I started to feel like comfortable in my skin, because I started to acknowledge who I truly am instead of who other people wanted me to be,
mm,
that's when I finally figured out, okay, I need to let go of these fears, because these fears ain't going anywhere. It's not that, and it's not even that I'm holding on to them. It's just that the mind is this default, the amygdala. That is science. The amygdala, the fear center of the brain. All of us have been saturated in trauma. Most of us don't know it, because how does a fish know that it's in water? So as the truth about trauma comes out, we begin to realize that it's in those traumatic moments that we experience that we make conclusions about ourselves. And based off those conclusions, we develop beliefs about ourselves. But because we limited our conclusions based off of that story, our beliefs are also limited. And so we begin to operate from that limited space that the mind wants us in to keep ourselves safe. But being safe in life and actually living are two different things. Merely existing and living are two different things. And you have to develop the audacity to be unapologetically authentic to truly live. And so that's why I'm so passionate, because I want to see people alive. I want to see people live. I want to see people smiling. I want people to stop. I desire to see people stop this endless pursuit of happiness and realize that when you look up the definition of happiness and when you look at the origin, it means to do that which produces the experience of happiness. Happiness is not a destination to be reached. It's the way we travel. It's in the doing, and it's in the operating in your truth, staying lit. LIT, live in truth. When you live in your truth, you're being authentic. And when you're authentic, you're in your power. And now you have access to those higher emotions that you're envious, that you see on other people's faces. And you say, why not me?
My brother. Look at you. It's like, yeah. That's like you transcended for a moment there. You guys had this out of body experience. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Love it. Oh, brilliant. Ah, yes. Yeah. So so is this the reason why you're starting to get out there more? Because look, I know like from so many people live life so cautiously, like so cautiously that yeah, they may as well just lay down in the dirt and wait to shuffle off this mortal coil because yeah, no. But you seem to be look, you're embracing life. I get that. I get that vibe from you. I don't know. Maybe you just give this something off. Yeah, subtle. But yeah. So is this why you're getting now out on podcasts and like you know what I mean, doing the little projects you're doing right now? Like from little acorns, mighty oaks grow, as they say.
Yes, actually, yes, because there are a lot of and I understand that fear leads this, and necessity, desperation may lead this, but there are a lot of in any institution or any movement, there are a lot of false prophets,
Mm,
and so there are a lot of people who are saying fancy things, catchphrases that people buy into that they themselves, the teachers, do not understand, and they lead people astray. Such as right now, the newest fad is to go around calling people toxic. That offends every part of my spiritual being because I cannot declare this is a universal truth, an axiomatic truth, that I cannot declare something true for the other and not declare that same thing true for me. And so over in the States, if you Google up how to stay away from a toxic person, you'll see thousands of articles. But again, that's antithetical to my own spiritual principles because when I think about toxicity, I think about waste, garbage,
mm.
crap. I would never allow myself to step into the position of self righteousness where I would declare another human being crap. What's happening is that, yes, certain people, like a virus, for instance, HIV, if you don't take care of yourself, HIV can and more than likely will eventually evolve into AIDS. So, yes, there are members of our society who unfortunately have not taken care of themselves, have not taken care of those higher needs such as love, compassion, self forgiveness, so on and so forth, that have fallen into such strong cycle of self hatred that now they in comparison they have AIDS, and so they're like people on fire. And of course, if you stand next to a person on fire, you're going to get burned.
Mm.
But if we can allow ourselves to not make it about ourselves for one goddamn second, we can see instead of us being burned that there's a person on fire. It's their toxicity or this thing about toxicity. It's hurting them way worse than it hurts us. And that's what we have to understand. But if we respond to our fear of being hurt by so-called toxic people, which do not exist, then they never have an opportunity to heal. It's in connection with one another, in compassion and love, that we heal. We are a unit. We were not built to be alone.
Mm.
You know, researchers show that a person who lives alone by themselves versus a person who lives alone with a plant typically lives longer, all things considered equal. So just a plant will allow a person to live. We were not built to be in isolation.
No, very true. No, we're not meant to be in isolation. But like, this is the thing. One of the things I think's the main problem with today, and
Hmm.
like with regards to, we can communicate with everyone in a myriad of ways. So many ways. You just like, oh yes, do this, do that. You like, yeah, Skype, yeah, telephone, yeah, like yeah. A number of different apps on your phone where you can like talk to someone in a remote jungle, like or in the ice caps, wherever.
Hmm.
But with that, there are like you cannot have like honest to God conversations where okay, through conversation, through discussion, this is where the good ideas come from, and this is where the bad ideas come from. And like the bad ideas, like most of the time through great, well, not even great discord, but just through decent discord, often go away and die. And basically, what's left is something good, wholesome, and basically can move yourself forward. unfortunately, with today's society, I think the discussions are not being had because, as you said, yeah, toxic. Like, yeah, they like you put the label of toxic, you put a number of different labels on it, like whatever ish or phobic, then you can't have these conversations where,
Otherwise,
yeah, it's like before you know it, you got to like, yeah, you self censor because you know what will happen if you did say anything about it. And yet that problem persists because no one's having an honest conversation about it.
mm-hmm,
It's crazy.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, that's why it requires audacity. It requires boldness. It requires courage to live an authentic life.
Mm.
Because life will consistently test you as to whether you're going to be true to yourself or not. You see, manifestation, when they talk about manifestation in the spiritual realm, you can only manifest whenever your thought, word, and deed are in alignment. And see, our fear, we think a lot of things, and a lot of us speak a lot of things, but our actions do not reflect those sponsoring thoughts and words. And so things never manifest for us. But what keeps us from acting it out is our fears, people's reaction. You're not in this world to live up to anybody else's expectations, and they are not in this world to live up to yours. What people think about what you do is none of your business. Understand this: small minds discuss people, average minds events, and great minds ideas. If I had to stop to deal with every small-minded person that had some shit to say about me, I'd never accomplish any of my great ideas. So align yourself energetically with people that are on the same page with you. All right, you got to move from eye level to sky level. You got to look up a little higher. You got to expand your awareness a little bit more.
Like, yeah, you're just like, yeah, I'm just like, okay, yeah. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, no, man. It's like, yeah. It's like, look, put it this way. Yesterday, when I had the podcast with a like lovely lady, like yeah, she was like, yeah, energy, passion, and like it's like going, I'm like going, what the hell is going on? I don't know what the universe is like going, like universe is like line her up, now it's lined you up. I'm like going, okay, look, what's gonna happen to me tomorrow? I don't know. I'm just going back up, yeah, someone's just gonna walk on water and go, hey, how you doing? I'm like, okay. Okay, what? What do you want from me, universe? What? It's like going, God damn. It's like, yeah. But no, I like this is the thing. I agree, like I agree with a lot of everything you say with regards to that. Like I'm like when people go, yeah, you got to cut the like negative people out of your life to which can't help you get to your destination. I'm a stronger believer. It's like, look, you don't necessarily have to cut people out of your life. It's just a case of there are going to be certain teams where some people can actually join you with that sort of particular journey and they can join you with this particular journey. But if it's a case of you can't take them on every single journey, because if you start doing that, by the time you've done like stop carrying them, you're going to be so damn tired, so damn exhausted, it's not going to work out. But
Mm-hmm.
don't need to cut them out, but you just got to be aware, like have that self-awareness about yourself and the sort of project or goal you're after, that if they can join you on the journey, yeah, by all means, come up, come along. Let's like, you know what I mean? Let's rise together. Let's thrive, you know?
Mm-hmm. I can call a snake venomous without being venomous towards the snake.
Mm,
I don't have to call people toxic or otherize them in order for me to realize that I am not evenly yoked with them.
mm,
You see, because it's the principle for me to be energetically aligned. Again, going back to values, my value is to be energetically aligned. Why? Because the physical is a manifestation of the spiritual. When you have, at least in the States, when you have a cold and warm front come together, which oftentimes they do around my area, you have horrible weather. You have not horrible, but you have turbulent weather. Excuse me. I don't want to label it as bad or good. You have, because it's all necessary. You have turbulent weather. And that's because energy, don't see energy as good or bad, and we are energetic beings, but see energy as always seeking out harmony. So
mm.
if you are a giver and you pride yourself, your worth on giving, you will attract takers. And the takers will always seek out givers because because energy seeks out harmony. But if you are intentional about living according to your values, you will be in harmony with yourself, and there go, you will attract people that are energetically aligned into your space. You know, if I had to just declare somebody toxic, oh, that's too easy. It's lazy.
Mm.
Because I could declare you toxic. I could say, man, the podcast was horrible. He toxic. That's why it was horrible, and then move on with life. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You know, like that's kindergarten stuff.
Yeah.
That's you know that's just kindergarten stuff. You know, we too grown for this. We got to move beyond this. You know, we have to allow our awareness to be expand beyond otherizing and calling the other person this or that. Because the moment that you declare them this or that, what you're saying is that they're a threat to you. And the
Mm.
moment that you declare something a threat, know that you're operating out of your mind space and not your heart space.
Yeah. And like this is the thing, when you when you dehumanize someone, that's when how can I put it? That's when dark, twisted, evil actions can take place. It's that's where I feel like sometimes I fear sometimes where we look I look at some things of today's society, because they're like, it's like, yeah, you're not human, you're this, you're like that. We'll throw it like we'll throw a name on you, take away your humanity, and then let it rip. And it's like going, okay, but if you sat down, if you talk to them, I bet you've got a lot more things in common than you actually think. If like, are you a parent? Yes, I'm a parent. So are they. What are some of the things you fear for your kid? This. And like, yeah, this. It's like, wow, it looks like you got a lot more in common than like you're actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
So like, look, you can look to the differences in this world, and that's very easy to do. But look into what actually the things what harmonize, what the things what can bring you together. That I think that's the trick sometimes, which is played out like, yeah, it's harder to find the things what bring you together. Look, like I remember like my first time ever coming to the second time, excuse me, coming to the United States of America. I was up in upstate New York in a town called Fishkill, just outside. There's an organization called the Fresh Air Funds where they bring inner city kids out to summer camps. I was in Camp Hayden Marks, spent 4 wonderful summers as a camp counselor, came to like be a village leader. These kids were all from all over New York. So, you know what I mean? And with New York, whatever borough you're from, you're pretty much like locked into it. Now, the one thing which like it first happened when I was like, oh my God, like basically, old bastard, shimmy, shimmy, yeah. That track came on and the whole place lit up. 210 boys just like, yeah, shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Carrying on my I was like, oh my God. Harmonize. All of the BS, all of the shit of like, I come from this area, I come from that area, was lost in the moment of that pure moment of like, I love this song. You got like, I love this song, and away we go. Lasted for like God knows how long that song goes on, 4 minutes maybe, and then you know what I mean, it drifted back. But it's a beautiful thing.
So the unaware would simply acknowledge that as a moment where a good song was played that is well known.
Mm.
The aware would look at that same setting, and I know that you're aware. I'm not calling you unaware. I know you're aware, but would look at that same setting and would see a truth that was revealed. In that club, they heard the song and they clearly identified each individual on an individual level identified with that song. So for 4 minutes, they all stared at the same thing that reflected them in unison. And for 4 minutes, they were able to not only identify themselves in that song, but they were able to see each other with clarity because they were all looking at the same thing in unity. Even though they were not aware of this. That's what occurred. And in those spaces, that's where you see the unity and the peace, this sort of connectedness. And then it's when we fall back into the illusion, forgetting that we're in a dream state, that's when the factions and the divisions happen, when we fall back into what I call the small I, or what has been said to say the small I, which is the subjective human experience, where we just see world as us and everything else as separate from us.
Mm.
But that's the mind state. The mind has to be born tabula rasa, which means empty slate. And so in this space, if the game, let's say the game is to discover that question, who am I, which is seared in every single human being's mind,
Mm.
if that's the name of the game, then we are born tabula rasa, empty slate, so we can continue to discover the truth of who I am. That's why that always is there, bugging us, vexing us, because it forces us to look at it and continue to explore. Because that's the name of the game: discovering who you are,
Mm.
and then moving in that truth. Remembering, not even discovering, remembering, because you inherited bullshit when you came here from the society, but it's moving from what you've inherited back to what is inherent to you, who you truly are, remembering that, becoming a kid again, and being safe, feeling safe to be a kid, and recognizing that you're not vulnerable like you were when you were a kid, when X did this or they did that. You're not in that vulnerable space anymore. You are grown, and now you can make a decisions for yourself. You have autonomy now.
Mm. No, I hear you. I hear you. And like this is the thing with that, it's like, yes, growing, knowing yourself like even better, getting on that sort of journey. And like this is the thing with you, like it seems like okay, it's I know you're not the cat which kind of settles. You're not the cat what seeks comfort. And like this is the thing, you are like you're how can I put it? You're ramping up. I don't know what to. I'm not 100% sure you know what to yet yourself. Because like this is the thing. Like, okay, like the reason why I say this, look, you've got your YouTube channel, which you do like your interviews and everything like that. Okay. Now you've got another podcast, like with another gentleman where you're like sort of doing like you're like sort of like well talking like this. I'm sure like yeah, I'm sure he's a titan himself when it comes to like yes the intellectual speak as well. And yeah, you've got like you I'm not too sure if it's a regular thing, but yeah, is it Harry like Harry meets Ellie or like
Daphne,
that?
when Harry met Daphne,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I playing on the movie Pump, say no more. But
Mm,
so yeah, but
mm-hmm.
you're like, yeah, you're moving on three fronts, like, yeah, out on the public stage. And like, yeah, you're doing what you're doing regularly. Like, so what's made you sort of like, oh, you know what? I need to be here, here, and here in three different areas. Because like there'll be many a person like done, well, what you need to do is just concentrate on one and like, you know what I mean? Because when you divide your time and energy like this, you're not going to achieve anything. Shut up. It's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, but yeah, three-prong attack. What's going on?
So it's about to be a 4 or 5 prone attack, but I basically I give myself permission to give to myself at least 25% as much as I would give to an employer. And I knew how I was beating my body up working these hours here in the States,
Mm.
extra hours, overtime, on jobs that never fulfilled me. And so I said, if I can operate based off of the fear of not having, and I can do all of that based off of the fear of not having, then let's turn to what it is that you actually seek to desire and experience in life and do just a fraction of that for yourself and see where it takes you. And where it took me is one passionate thing that was in alignment with another passionate thing that's in alignment with another passionate thing. And then as I allow myself to be seen, which is my greatest trauma because I grew up a preacher's kid, so the last thing I ever wanted to do was be seen. So this I never had a dream of being YouTube famous, Instagram famous. It was literally my path that said, no, you have to do this. And I had part of that depressive state and lack of self-acceptance.
Mm.
That it finally came to that point where it's like the universe is always conspiring in your favor. So life was like, no, I know you don't want to do it. I know you don't want to be, that's the last thing you want to do is be in the limelight. I know what you experience, but you are not your story, Harry. Detach from that. Because when you look at that, that thing that you're afraid of, because when I think about being seen, I see people with pitchforks ready to judge me and rip me apart. That's what preachers' kids go through, in the States. At least small town African American preachers' kids, definitely. And they say preachers' kids are the worst, but it's not that. It's that you get the fame without the fortune. And so
Mm.
that level of criticism and expectation placed on you would drive any human being mad because we're not built to live up to that level of pressure. That's not healthy, and still I wouldn't declare those people toxic. So let me just get that straight. I would even declare the person that murdered my first cousin toxic. So let me get that straight. That's how antithetical the word toxic is to me. But anyway, my as I continued my purpose, and I learned in February 26, 2021, the last affirmation was when I came across human design. Well, I didn't. My integrator, the person who designed my website, she said, "Harry, I really think that the way that you think, you sound like this, and I think you need to like check this out. I think you really like it." So, after much edging, I went and checked it out, and I learned that I'm this rare type on that gene called mental projector, and that it said that basically my destiny, I was here to be a guide. Now, I didn't just take that and say, "Oh, okay, great. Human design said I'm meant to be a guide, so I'm gonna be a guide." What human design did was highlight the fact that I've always been a guide. I've always been a guide in some form or fashion. I was a therapist before I knew I was going to be a therapist. I never had no dream of being a therapist because growing up poor black male, you say to yourself, therapy is for white folk. That's what you say in the States. Therapy is for white folk because they're the only ones that could afford it at the time. And we
Mm.
still have that level of disparity when it comes down to wealth because of historical crimes against humanity. But anyway, but purpose led me to this space. And then when I finally learned my human design, and it talked about how growing up as a child, mental projectors like myself, we get a lot of rejection and dismissiveness because the message that we have is very advanced, and it scares adults, and then children, our peers, don't understand it. And so when it started to talk like that, I'm like, this is being very specific about every single thing that I've experienced, even though it's talking about it in a very vague way.
Mm.
Like this ain't no horoscope stuff. You know what I mean? This ain't, I mean, not that I know, no offense to anybody that's into horoscopes and live by horoscopes, but I'm saying is I'm not into the woo woo stuff. Like I'm spiritual, but I'm not into the woo woo stuff.
Mm.
But I don't care if Kermit the Frog wrote it. If it's gonna tell me a truth about myself, I know when I see something that's true about me. And I don't care if Kermit the Frog was the author of it. If it's true, then I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna use that on my path because that's why I came across my path. And so in human design, what it said, you are meant to be a guide and you are meant to allow yourself to be seen by others specifically so they know that you have something valuable to say. And then they could seek you out. If I try to go in and help people like I did so many times growing up, without them seeing I have something valuable to offer, what happens is repulsion, rejection, or dismissiveness, which is the summation of all of my traumas. And so human design is about how to energetically move through life, the path of least resistance. That's what it's about. And so now I see, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm out on Instagram and YouTube, and that scary as hell to me. But again, we move by faith or by fears.
Mm.
And so I'm moving by faith, and so I don't give a damn about my fears. Freedom exists on the other side of your fears. My fears have no idea how strong I am. I don't know how strong I am, but I'm definitely eager to find out.
Mm. Well, that's where it comes from, the test. Like you never
Mm.
know, like put it this way, you never know how truly strong you are. Like you go, like put it this way, you go into the gym, go, yeah, I lift 250 pounds, bench press that, no problem. Yeah, when you're in that sort of spot, yeah, lifting a truck up like Superman, like when you're in that corner. But the test, and yes, life tests us all. Some
Hmm.
when we don't at least expect it or want it, but that's when it comes through. Mm. So
Hmm.
so with like this, with your three-pronged attack at this moment in time before it becomes prong five, like six, seven, like yeah, like a small legion. So like what was like why did yeah, you're laughing, but it's true though. It's true. Like, yeah, you're laughing, but it's true. Oh, wait. are you not? Do you not have a YouTube channel where you got like you go out and interview people and like yeah, like what we're doing right now? Hmm? Hmm?
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I do.
Oh
That's
yeah.
facts.
Do you not have you not started a podcast where you've got like your little like trailer up where like with your friend where you're going to be talking about like yeah chewing the fat on a daily basis or a weekly basis? Huh? Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah.
That's true. That's
And
true.
wait. Do you not have like yeah like a podcast with a lovely charming lady where you like you know what I mean? You talk about yeah the mental and physical like it, I'm
That that's also true. That's
yeah.
also true.
And there you are, like, nah. It's like, yeah, come on, yeah. So what is the sort of like not the not the end goal because I don't believe in end goals. It's like when you hit like when you reach the mountaintop and you look across the land and you've got no other worlds to conquer. It's like that's when the
Mm,
sadness and depression sets in. But like, what is
mm.
the sort of organic goal? Like something which is ever increasing, ever growing with regards to like, yeah, either one of your three prongs. Just tell me one. Like, yeah, you know, just tell me one.
So you're asking me what goals do I have for down the line, or where am I moving to next?
Where are you moving?
So I'm releasing an online course on August 29th, which is the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. If
Mm,
you're familiar with that hurricane, it devastated Louisiana,
yeah.
and the eye went right over my hometown and destroyed it. I'm releasing that because, like you said, this three-pronged attack. When I thought about all the things that I was doing, including designing, not designing, but creating ebooks and whatnot, when I thought about everything I was doing, I was like, this is a lot, and it's like a Noah's Ark type project. It's that large, and so I had to keep telling myself that you only eat an elephant one bite at a time, and so I said plank by plank, and so I began in my mind, I see it as Noah's Ark, and so that's why I'm releasing it on August 29th, the anniversary of Katrina, where it flooded New Orleans.
Mm,
So I have that. I have a mini course that I'm also going to put out this month about shadow work and how to begin doing that introspective work, so you can begin to ask yourself those questions. I'm gonna guide you right into yourself because you're the question and the answer. So I can't give you anything except that which is already half asleep in the dawning of your being, like Brother Khalil Gibran says. And so the mini course is designed to help people begin to look at themselves and stop running and understand that there's nothing there to fear. So besides that, the course and the mini course being released this month, yes, I do have the two podcasts. The limited series I'm releasing today to address a lot of the socioeconomic issues that plague young African American men in particular, especially since the murder rates are pretty high right now. So I feel like black men need to step up and speak to that. And I don't see many people speaking to that and really giving an explanation as to why, which
mm,
always goes down to self hatred. It's not about locking them up. Louisiana is the incarceration capital. My state is the incarceration capital of the world. We incarcerate more people than any other developed country, than the entire world, right here in Louisiana. It just moved over from a plantation system to a prison system.
yeah.
And so, a lot of us, because of the pain that we are experiencing and that self hatred that develops, that internalized depression, a lot of us have fallen into, of course, deviated and fallen into the street life. But crime is a deviation from societal norms. But when societal norms don't fit you because of these stratification layers, of course you're going to deviate. And so I want to speak true to that, so people aren't again demonized or otherized as those people need to stop killing themselves and those people need to get themselves together and pull themselves by the bootstraps, and realizing that the same thing that they see right now in urban communities with African American men were the same thing that they saw in the early 1900s with Irish and Italians who moved to the country when the elitists of the country at the time considered them to be imbeciles and wanted to sterilize them.
Mm,
Anybody who lives in the slums behave the same way. It is not a race thing, it is a human thing. If you take rats and you put it in a bucket that it could not escape, it's going to try to scratch its way out from the side first. If it can't escape, then it'll try to burrow underneath. If it finds that it has no escape, what happens is it goes mad and then it becomes a cannibal, and they begin to attack each other because there's no access to resources and there's no escape. These slums, these hoods that are designed by society, this is not the people's issue. It's a lack of justice in the society, and so they know that the trap is designed to cause people to go mad and eventually begin to attack each other.
Mm.
That's what happens. Is it is a human condition? It's all pimping. It's all psychology, you know. But once we become aware of that, knowledge and freedom, you know, knowledge and freedom, ignorance and freedom cannot coexist. You know, the number one rule: know thyself. Once we get access and become aware, now we can move in that truth,
Mm. Yeah,
and that truth sets us free. Go ahead.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say like this is the thing. Yeah, you're right, and like this is one of the things which I would say a great like one of the greatest strengths, the pieces of knowledge to sort of which I think is kept away from all of society except the sort of top the top percentile, like the top 10%, is like economics, because like the whole thing is like when you sort of like look, you've like you said it yourself, when you started your business, you've lost like thousands and thousands of dollars like getting that set up. But like what they don't realize when they don't teach you this is a case of if you actually master sort of economics, get that sort of education down, that can be it's not the gateway, it is the key to move on to that next level, to basically help like go forward, move yourself up, and yeah, become well, not a better person, but definitely a freer person. What I would simply say is like a lot of people, because I think the system needs people to be in debt, needs people to be ignorant of their like sort of circumstance, so they don't actually sort of like build that wealth, build that knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
so they can sort of move forward and basically once they move forward, maybe help the next person or help their family up.
Mm-hmm.
The system though, like they look, it's like nah, like hey, get that credit card, you know what I mean, take that personal loan, yeah, take that
Mm-hmm.
car finance, you know what I mean, you look for like oh yeah, see it today, like you're like oh you see that little bit of electronics, do it on free payments, yeah, you know what I mean, it's like
Mm-hmm.
bit by bit it just holds you back, and with that you can't move up. As then look, if you give like if you started with say education for finance, like yeah, I'm not going to say everyone's going to like climb out and like rise to the next level, but it'll be a lot more than
Mm.
people like today.
Oh,
Empowerment moving forward, and who knows what can be done, but they're not going to pass that on. And yeah.
so let me say that if you are relentless in having faith in yourself, because you're talking about financial wellness is something that I most certainly is my weakest area.
Mm.
And growing up, growing up, in a trailer, growing up impoverished, it's a trigger whenever I don't have finances. But this year, I realized I had to shut down my business a couple of days out the week, just to do the social influencing that actually cost me money. I have not earned any money from social influencing. Every single cent I have three businesses.
Mm.
Every single cent that I have comes, two of them are social influencing, but every single cent that I have comes from my private practice. So if I don't see people, I don't eat, and I have zero savings currently, and my bank account has been on flats for quite some time, teetering back and forth. Get a paycheck and pay whatever I got to pay to just exist to the next month. I could at any point in time, and I'm a business owner now. I can at any point in time open up my shop, 6 days, my therapy office 6 days a week, and then see a bunch of people and then live comfortably. But that would be me responding to my fears.
Mm.
That would be me settling. And so I'm playing the long game. And yeah, it is scary. Every single time that my account drops into the negative, or I don't have anything and I don't know when the next time is going to hit my account, it scares me because that's the last thing I want to do is be broke or lose, God forbid, I'm in my first home, lose me and my wife's first home and whatever. But I know that I must be vigilant and resilient and also relentless in responding to my faith instead of my fears.
Mm.
And again, faith is not belief in what you do see, but acceptance of the unseen. I see my bank account. I see all of these barriers that are in front of me. I am not delusional. I see them all. But what I said is that either I'm going to walk through the door and get mine, or I will walk through the goddamn wall and create a door. Like there is no it for me. It's as certain. My course is as certain as the air that I breathe. Like it's there's no turning back. So if I die, then I died choosing to live authentically in this space and choosing to experience those things that I see for myself. Financial freedom, generational wealth, philanthropy is the main thing that I see as well. You know, where I can empower people to there's geniuses in the hoods, there's geniuses in the slums where I can empower people so we can solve these national and worldwide crises such as global warming and cancer and everything else. You know, people need the ability to just be free. They're suffocated from these obligations of life, you know, and that's not earning a living is not living, that's a dying.
Mm.
You know, that's a dying. You
Yeah.
know, it's a
I was gonna
oh,
say no. I was gonna say when you say urban living's dying, is not like it's not living, it's dying. It's one of the things like okay, when you're like if you're playing the game in survival mode, you're not actually thriving. And like trying to
mm-hmm,
play that game, like trying to play the game of life. And when I say the game of life, I don't mean it in some throw off term, but there is times where you look at life, it does follow certain rules, which are game like. And if you start playing it, like before you know it, things start coming your way. It's just the way it is. And I wish it could change, but that's the way it is. And when it comes down to like sort of like trying to thrive, it's hard because you got to sometimes, especially in the beginning of it all, you've got to pretty much go all in time
mm-hmm,
and time and time again. And like going all in, like this is why some people go, yes, a young person's game, because look, yeah, if you crap out, you can like, okay, I feel the pain. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay, yeah. Like, look, I'll live off ramen and like, yeah, someone give me a chicken wing or God knows what. I'll live off a cloud. I like,
mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, uh, get back on it and like start again. And like they go, yeah, as you get older, it gets harder because there's certain comforts and standards of living you've got to do, and you might have a family, kids, and like it. So it's harder, but you still got to do it, and you still got to go all in at those times. And look, it doesn't mean you're good. There's no guarantee for success, but it's a case
Mm-hmm.
of look, you don't know how you might affect the person around you who won't say anything to you, won't give you a jot of like, well done, won't pass on a compliment, won't like pass on criticism or whatnot. They'll just watch you, watch you. And when it comes down to if you got kids, they're always watching. Like, yeah, like the most dangerous thing in this world is a quiet child. Because that means they are watching you, observing you, and yeah, and like they're gonna use that ammunition in the future. Like, oh, you remember when you did this? Ah.
Mm-hmm.
But through that sort of through the actions, and it's like this is a thing, through the actions, be it positive or negative, you are being watched. And if you can be like an inspirational light, you are, even if it's positive or negative, you're going to be an inspirational light for either the good or the bad. So you know what I mean, choose which side you want to be on in that sort of realm of life, because if you go with the
Mm-hmm.
bad, it's not going to just affect you, it's going to affect the person who's watching you. And if that's your kids, it'll affect them and the next set generation, the next generation, it goes down. If you're that light, it'll affect whoever's watching you and the next generation and the next generation. And rather than that sort of light dimming and fading away, waiting for that one person to bring it back slightly, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and leads nothing but daylight.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, that's very, very, very true and very poetic as well. Yeah. again, lighten up the darkness with light. We all meant to shine, and as we are liberated from our fears, our very presence, as Marion Wilson said it in a Return to Love, as we are liberated from our own fears, our very presence give others permission to do the same. And so yes, there is a chain effect. Now, if you need the external motivation, then look at your kids. But what I'm going to also encourage you to do is look at the primarily where you're going to have to move to from the external is to the internal. And so look at being an inspiration for yourself. At first, I wanted to be like my cousin who was murdered. Then I wanted to be like my older brother who was real cool and got all the ladies. And then I became more moralistic and wanted to be like my father who was a minister. And then at some point in college, I said that I'm not happy trying to be like anybody. So what do I do? Like who should be my role model? And then it came to me that I am meant to be my own model. As Dr. Zeus said, you are you. That's truer than true. No one in the world can be youer than you. And so when I started to explore what the you is for me, that's when I came to a deeper truth of who I am. And so I just determined to be better at staying in alignment with my values, because that's the defining and refining process. So who am I once I determine the truth of am I? And you're continually, that's not I got it, and then, you move on with life. It is constantly being revealed throughout life, because if you found all your truth, there'd be no more reason for you to be here in this game called life.
Mm.
So you are definitely here on this journey to discover a deeper truth about who you are. And so when I came to that deeper truth, it came to a point where I stopped looking externally and I started to look internally. When a parent, for example, comes to me, a mother says, I just want to be a good mother for my children. I said, well, be a good mother to yourself first. If you figure out how to be a good mother to yourself, then you'll have no problem being a great mother to your children. It always begins with us first.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, man, look, all I've got to say is, yeah, fuck. You, yeah, yeah. Nah, look, has to be said. Look. Uh, 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 yeah, you see, I'm gonna just sit here and just like absorb the noise. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? What have I let myself in for? But yeah. Yes. Here you are. Here you go. Look, what I would simply say to you is this: like, look, you doing all this, like all of this work to get yourself out there, get message across, and like, make things better for, well, one, for yourself, but like more for the greater community and others around you. Yeah, it's inspired. And I think, yeah, I'm like, if anyone can do it, like, look, one of the most dangerous things in this world is having a true believer. You either like you either you either get out of the way or get on board. And if you decide to get in the way, God help you. But that's another story. But like, this is the thing. I think a case of getting out there and getting the word out. And in this crazy world we live in, the noise of all of the different platforms out there, it's difficult. And like, what I would simply say is, like, like, I don't know if you are on Clubhouse, you didn't mention it, but I think you need to sort of go on to something like a little bit more fresh and new. And because the sort of conversations which kick off on Clubhouse, like, I've just like sort of dipped my toes in. I got to start a room myself with regards to that app. I think you most probably be able to build a number of different connections within that, which I think might lead you down maybe some exciting new paths, or like build like some great relationships I don't think you're in contact with, or might be not be aware you might need yet. Because hey, that's the journey, because you never know what you're going to need on this journey. You can pack all the stuff you think you need, and then that's when life comes test you and goes, you forgot the pickaxe. You forgot the pickaxe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but like,
Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
I want to say I'm getting acclimated to the whole social media thing, and so I am on Clubhouse now. Actually, I'm on someone's. I'm going to be a guest on someone's podcast next Friday that I met on Clubhouse, and actually my clients even they'd be like, hey, you need to get on Clubhouse. Like I'm telling you, if you got on Clubhouse, you'll like blow up and this and that. So I'm getting acclimated to it now. And so yeah, I'm definitely on it. And I plan on creating a club and doing some series and stuff on that too. So hopefully that works out. Definitely that exposure. I definitely, like you said, the noise for me, the noise consists of a lot of money being tossed. People have money to advertise.
Yeah.
And they have access to the cute sayings that can reel people in, but without any true substance to guide anybody because they're not true guides. They're just
Mm.
regurgitating what they've heard.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and like this is the thing. Yeah, there are always going to be BS like merchants out there, like snake oil salesmen, and like giving the easy message, giving the easy thing, that calling, which people will like buy into very easily. But being authentic, being your true self, and like basically playing like you don't have cash to do it right now, but playing a little bit smarter and a little bit cleverer than some of these guys, building true relationships and bonds through like building a community on Clubhouse, building a community on Facebook, and like building a community or whatever platform that might be. Yeah, I think you could be, who knows where it could lead, who knows how far you can go. It might be a case of you've got 1,000 dedicated people who are like, you know what I mean, true blue, and like, you know what I mean, they'll go, right. Can you change the world with 1,000 people? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you said that because that's exactly. Understand this when we were talking about this, and this is germane to everybody here who may listen to this podcast. Is that not everybody is for you? So I definitely don't want the world. Like brother said, I definitely don't want the world. I don't need the world. But if I had a thousand people, that actually understood and could see me. That's the main thing because I don't want to ever be idolized. Fuck that because I will fail. I will fail. If you idolize me, I will fail you every single time. But it's not about me. It's about this truth and this message.
Yeah.
And so for those that resonate with the truth and the message that I'm putting out there, that's all I want. If you can't hear it, if you can't see it, then it's not for you yet. But when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. Understand the reason why you don't have the answers because you're not looking for the truth. If you
Hmm.
look for the truth, you will find it, and you got to accept that. Don't resist that because it's our resistance, that's the resistance that causes that self-chosen suffering. That thing, our pain, when we take medicine when we're sick, and I don't know why I'm going off on this right here, but when we take medicine when we're sick, understand that the medicine, typically most of us don't like the medicine that we taste. It doesn't taste good to us,
Hmm.
but we still know and understand that it still heals the body. Understand that your pain has not come there to embarrass you or to send you into shame or to send you into the closet. It is medicine. It is medicinal. It is the doctor. It is the doctor within that's healing your sick self, as my brother Khalil Gibran would say. So drink the potion in peace and tranquility, the same way you would cough medicine or flu medicine or anything else. And so lean into life. Don't hide from life. Life demands that you show up for life and be present. And yes, it will hurt sometimes, but much of your growth is growing pains, not growing pleasures. Just like ladies have to cut their dead ends of their hair off in order for their hair to continue to grow, or we must groom the bushes so that they continue to grow, so must we also be groomed and cut off those dead ends so that we continue to grow. And no, it doesn't feel good, but it's still necessary. It's part of your defining and refining process. It is about returning back to love, remembering who you were inherently instead of what it is that you inherited based off of other people's expectations and fears.
Damn right. Damn right. No, like, yeah. And goddamn, I think, you know what? Here's the thing with that, and with like, remember, remember this moment. Remember, like, no, the reason why I say this, it's because it's easy to get caught up in it all. And I think if things go the way I feel they might go for you, like, okay, look, I'm not saying you're gonna be idolized or anything like this, but I would say, yeah, 3 years, whoo wee. Like I would say 3 years, God knows where you're gonna be. But I don't think it's gonna be like I don't think it's gonna be small time. I think it's gonna be like, yeah, big, huge. Like, yeah, just believe in the power of consistency and like consistently show up and keep on doing the work. Hey, who's gonna stop you? You, no one else.
Mm,
You know?
mm,
And like,
mm,
yeah, keep that faith and like, you know what I mean? Keep pushing forward. Strive. Like, strive, thrive, show the people around you so they can see it in themselves. And then basically let them start thriving, let them start driving forward, let them start growing and being their best selves. That's what I've got to
Mm,
say, you know?
yeah, yeah, brother. Thank you so much for that. Today, so at 11 a.m. on Central Time, I had my morning podcast when Harry met Daphne show, and on there I said that, and I brought up toxicity and my repulsion to it immediately
Yeah.
because of it triggered my internal like sense, my internal compass. And what I learned years ago, when I did my trace back my ancestry, it led to three peoples in Africa, and on the west coast of Africa, a Tiki on my paternal side, which is a warrior tribe, and then it led to on my mother's side two peoples, which were the Mandinka, which if anybody watch Roots, they know the Mandinka, Kunta Kinte, warrior
Mhm.
tribe, warrior people, and also Balanta, which that wasn't even the name of the people. It was the French gave the people that name, and it meant people who resist because they would rather die than be enslaved. And so every which way of me, there's warrior blood flowing through me. And so for me, when I do the inner work, the shadow work, I hone into the wisdom and the strength of the ancestors, and they guide me. And that's where I found the quote, or discovered, or they brought to my awareness the quote: "If you defeat the enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm." That's an African proverb. And so anytime I start to sense fear from the outside, I start looking on the inside and try to understand, why am I afraid of something from within, from without me, when really the only threat that really exists is what's inside of me. Everything else is a delusion, an illusion. Danger is very real. I'm not saying don't be delusional. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice.
Mm.
Fear is always a choice. You don't have to fear what's dangerous. You just have to know that it's dangerous.
Indeed, very true. And yeah, and that's one of the things. Like we're being like, there's a generation upon generation has been trained to like see like anything they fear as everything is dangerous when it's not true. And like the truth of the matter is, yes, there is danger there. And look,
Mm,
if I told you to pick up a big giant poisonous spider, yeah, there's a danger that spider is going to bite you, but like not everything is going to be a big giant poisonous spider. It's like, yeah, I hear that noise next door. I think it's something dangerous out there. Well, it could just be nothing more than the wind. So yeah.
eggs. And is that truly a dangerous spider, or was I just told that it was a dangerous spider? Understand that here in the states, in the formal educational system, you go from kindergarten, what's called kindergarten, and then first grade, second grade, all the way through 12th grade,
Mm,
and then you have what is called a graduation ceremony. The word graduation can be seen as a combination or the marriage of the words gradual and indoctrination. You've been gradually indoctrinated into the American way of thinking. But when you do the shadow work and you do the introspection, you have to determine whether that way actually benefits you. And not that all of it is bad or anything like that, but definitely not all of it is good. And so the philosophy that you must work yourself to death in order to achieve some type of dream, when you look at the top 1%, and I don't really see them ever go into an office. And so, well, you have the most money and you don't work yourself to death. So why am I believing that same thing? And who told me that? Where that theme come from? Because I saw my parents have 3 and 4 jobs between the two of them, and they remain broke. So
yeah.
where did this work hard until you die? Like, these things are the things that you must shake in order to be free. The limiting beliefs, the inherited beliefs that are just merely some other person's made up illusion. I mean, think of the word television. I know we're running short of time, but just think of the word television. When you think about it, to me, it's for me personally, I feel like it was somebody's joke. They were like, "We're going to call this thing television because all we're going to do is sit there and tell other people's the vision that we have for their lives. And we know if they tune in long enough that it will saturate their brain, and then that indoctrination they will respond to, you know? And you gotta be aware of these things so that you can choose what to lay your attention on, because again, wherever attention goes, energy flows. If you're staring at your story, then that's all you're going to see. If you're staring at your fears, then that's all you're going to see. But your mind, your conscious mind, has limited space, and so you must use discernment and choose wisely about what it is that you're going to stare at. So yes, I have my fears, yes, I have my trauma, yes, I have my shame, but I also have my values, I have my goals, I have my desires, and I have my dreams. And so I choose with my limited time and space to focus on that.
Indeed. Indeed. Superb. No, I can't agree more. I totally do. I understand it. I agree with it. And look, with regards to what's next for yourself, what's next for myself, what's next for like much of society, that is a mystery to us
Hmm.
all. But like, this is the thing. Like, I'm gonna have to ask you one last question before you go.
Please.
Like, yes, like this is most probably gonna be the one. What how can I put it? I'm going to most probably get the deepest moments of your psyche, which will come out from this question. I'm intrigued. Now,
Hmm.
now, okay. If you could take a movie, any movie, like, and then like, the Muppets, Sesame Street, the Muppets, and all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you could take any movie and then replace that movie's cast with the cast of the Muppets and have one human in it, which movie would you choose?
Wait, the Muppets?
The
Wait,
Muppet.
now, I'm not really too familiar with the Muppet. I know what you're talking about, but I'm not that to. So my favorite movie is The Matrix. So
Uh,
any movie, whatever you ask me to do, I'd probably put it in the scene of The Matrix.
okay.
Had the movie The Matrix, yeah.
So like, Sesame Street, Kermit the Frog, Fuzzy
It's been,
Bear.
I do know
Yeah.
Kermit,
Yeah.
yes. Fuzzy Bear, I'm not too familiar with, but the old school ones, Bert and Ernie,
Yeah.
Kermit,
Okay.
that's the ones I'm familiar with. Yeah.
Okay. So Elmo. Yeah.
Elmo, yep,
You want
yep,
the,
yep, yep,
yeah. So
yep, yep.
if you had to replace the cast of the Matrix with the cast of Sesame Street,
Okay.
okay, now who would be Neo? Who would be Morpheus? And who would be Trinity?
Brother, I don't know this cast of Sesame Street like that to put them in order like that. But I guess
Uh,
of all the Sesame Street, man, I mean, after the Grouch clearly would be Cyrus. I mean, the Cookie Monster. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't answer that one, bruh. I can't. It's hard for me to, because I got to get in that space. I don't know these characters like that. I don't know them personally. We ain't never played golf together, nothing. You know what I mean?
oh, hey, I know about, like, you know what I mean. Like, if you're Big Bird's caddy, that's a pain in the ass right there. Like, taking those large strides. Hey, Big Bird, come on now. I'm carrying the club. Slow the hell down. Come on now. Like, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but I will say this, brother. If there is if I were to put myself in that movie, I see myself fitting as Morpheus.
Yes, I can. Yes, Leo. Because I got to
Yeah.
turn, stare at the camera, and go, he is the one.
Look, I bond with Morpheus and I bond with Neo too, but at the end when he saw the code in the first movie, because that's what I've been trying to describe to people close to me my entire life, is that when I go outside, it's like I can see the code. I not with my physical eyes, but I can sense it. I can see the code in the leaves, in the sunshine, in the trees, and the grass. Like my relate, like it's just I can see it, and this it's on these laws that I know that these are real. And so my mind, the fears that my mind create, I know that that's a fallacy. And so no matter what I feel, because my emotions are based off of my interpretation, and my interpretation is based off of what I know, but there are known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns, and the mind doesn't know what it doesn't know. And so I'm still operating off of this limited space, and we'll never know it all. So what
Mm.
do I have to rely on? I have to rely on these spiritual truths, the code that I see in life, and this is what no matter what my fears tell me, no matter when I'm in pain, no matter what, these are the things that I stand on, and it always sees me through.
Outstanding. Okay. like that sounds like a good place to end it. No, no, man. Yeah, no, no, no. Hey, a good thinking, thoughtful, poignant place. Yeah, I'm liking that. Now,
All right.
now, Harry, can you tell? Like, I've got to say one of like, first of all, thank you for coming on. But how can people find you out there on the World Wide Webs?
Aha. So to find me out there on the World Wide Web, you can go to becomeanoutlier.com. That is BECOMEANOUTLIER.com. Become an outlier. And for those of y'all who are wondering what an outlier is, it is it's a sociological it's a term in statistics, sociological statistics, and it basically means that it doesn't fit within the norm or the average. And so if you were to try to figure out the average age of a kindergarten classroom, the teacher would be the outlier, you know. And so for me, I've always felt like an outlier, and now I know that I'm an outlier. And so becoming an outlier is really about embracing your authentic self because we were all born outliers. We just forgot that.
Mm, indeed, indeed. Is there anywhere else, or is that the one?
Oh, yeah, that's the main one because we're really centralizing. I'm putting up so the podcast is actually on that website. So I moved that from Buzzsprout to this website, and we're maximizing it so that this could be like my little community, you know, my people. Because Facebook, you know, you're exposed to your haters as well as, you know, I just want my people because I know if they come to my website, then they really come in to see me and
Mm,
not just see what I'm doing so they can criticize it, you know. And so if they want to find me, just sign up on that wait list and a newsletter on my website, and I will definitely love to. Y'all gonna get news on the new releases. You're gonna get access to the new uh, ebook. I'm putting up an ebook store, and based on my ebook store, real quick, is my desire to help people. Mental wellness is so misunderstood, and everyone should have access to this, and it most certainly is important to be taught in schools, even though it's not. And so I'm finding and designing ebooks, editing ebooks that are specific to certain mental wellness, I believe, necessities that we all need. And I sell my ebooks for $7.99. And so I'm also moving that from PayHip to the main site as well. So everything is going to be on the main site. So if you just remember that website, over the next month, you're going to see a lot of things being released. But the podcast is already on there if you wanted to check that out.
excellent. I'll be putting the link in the description, in the show notes. So yeah, please click on the link. Yes, get over there. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I would appreciate it. And yes. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
I'd be remiss. I'd be remiss if I didn't state this. Yeah, I'm not. I'm learning to promote now. I'm learning to promote more now.
What, Me
But
YDB is the best podcast you ever had? Oh, thank you. You're most welcome.
yes, most certainly, most certain. That's exactly where I was going.
Uh,
This is definitely the best I've ever been on. So, and also, let me add to that. I'd be remiss also if I did not state the podcast that I'm on that you
King of
mentioned.
techno. It's like, yeah, it's like, yeah. Carry on. It's like, yeah.
So the podcast that my brother mentioned is www.whenharrymetdaphne.com. That's my other podcast, and that's the first one that we created, my partnership. I'm a psychotherapist, mental health clinician, and she's a dietitian. And since mind and body should be treated holistically as one, as the father of medicine, Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." I wanted to form a multidisciplinary team to treat my clients who have severe trauma because I'm a trauma specialist.
Mm,
But we created the podcast when COVID hit because as practitioners, we get paid based off of seeing people. Well, when COVID closed down the businesses, we couldn't see people, but we still wanted to help people. So it began as free wellness calls during that time. But then because we do it at 11 a.m., a lot of people work during that time. And so
yeah.
they were saying, hey, record it for us. And then we had so many recordings that we said, well, we might as well just put it on a podcast, and now it just turned into a podcast. So this wasn't planned either. It wasn't planned either. It was literally just me following life, because during that time, as a matter of fact, and this, ooh, okay, we're going out, but I need to leave y'all with this nugget right here. The Chinese symbol for crisis is a combination of the words danger and opportunity. Danger and opportunity. And so knowing that when COVID hit, again, trigger, I'm living, check to check, and now there's no checks coming in. What I'm going to do, I'm in a mortgage, I got a house, a mortgage and car note, all these other stuff. What I'm going to do, but I had to calm down, listen to my self-regulate by listening to my inner self, and realize that yes, this is very dangerous, but there's also opportunity here, Harry. What can you do? Even if, don't worry about whether it pays you or not. What can you do that you love to do? And so that's why we started doing the Zoom calls. And then it turned into this. And so, again, life is always conspiring in your favor. I would not be here talking to you right now had it not been for COVID. COVID had been one of the worst. 2020 was one of the worst and best years of my life because even though I was afraid, I continued to move in faith and looked at the opportunities that were available. No, I can't make money, so then screw it. Just scratch that off. What can I do during this time? Still help people, which fulfills me. That fulfills me much more than being able to pay the electricity bill. I mean, it relieves me to be able to pay my bills because now I get to stay here longer. But as far as fulfillment, no, that comes from through connection and helping other people see that truth too. So anyway, that's whenharrymetdaphne.com. We have a bunch of podcasts. We did a great one today, which is called It's Okay Not to Be Okay, borrowing from Michael Phelps. And so we spit some real stuff. So check us out.
Excellent. Wait, we're gonna wait for about 10, 20 seconds just in case you remember.
I'm totally done.
like what? You sure?
I'm
Yeah.
I am done. I'm good. I'm
Oh,
good. Hey, I'm on fire with this truth, bro. I'm just lit up. I'm lit up, man.
okay. He's lit up. He's motivated. He's ready to go. But yeah, yes. Yeah. I've got to say, like Harry, pleasure, an honor to have you on today. Yeah, look, put it this way. I could talk to you for hours on end, even longer, but yeah, I've got to be mindful of my next door neighbors. They have two small children. Yeah, and just like I can just the little one go, will this motherfucker not shut up? Oh yes. Oh yeah. By all means, yes, for the future. You're gonna be back. I know you will.
Oh yes.
Yes, many more conversations to be had. So I say thank you to you, Harry. Thank you for coming on. Pleasure. The honor is all mine. Yes.
Thank you. I'm humbled. It's an honor. Thank you so much, bro. Like seriously, thank you.
Oh, no worries at all. And hey, I'd like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors, for sticking with us up until this point. It is awesome. It's fantastic. If you really like the podcast, please subscribe. Go to Harry, subscribe to his podcast as well. But what I simply say to you is stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be fantastic, be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. Have a great day, guys. Yes. Peace. And we are